Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. We are going to go ahead and jump in here today and get back into what's happening with the lessons, only this time on your person's side. So, yesterday we looked at what was happening in the lessons around this for you, and in particular, trying to get you some practical information and things to look for and things like that. It was a pretty good reading. So, if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out. But it was all brought on by the reading before that we did, where we were looking to see what was happening with your person and had they given up on things. And one of the things that we saw was both of you were like going through it right now. And so we turned our eye to you. Today, we're turning back to your person. So it'll be a general reading for this collective. So it's not going to resonate with everybody. But if it does resonate for you, you may be somebody who would value joining along with this collective. So if that's the case, then please feel free to subscribe. You may want to look at some of the other messages. And again, messages in these last two readings are particularly associated with each other, but they're all very much connected. This has been pretty much since I came out in September of 2022 on YouTube. This has all seemed very connected. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to look at the energetic backdrop, what's sticking out for you today, the energy that you're swimming in, and really because it's about your person, it's more, it's the energy between both of you, but it's going to be the energy that's a little heavier on your person's side just because of the way we're asking the questions. And because we're looking at what they're going through emotionally in their lessons, but we can't get their energy without getting kind of what matches with you, or where it matches up with you, because of the nature of the relationship. So we've got the Draco card, which is this is like the equivalent of the Wheel of Fortune in the traditional tarot, and this one's all about change. It's all about change, but it's not necessarily change that your person is doing. It is more energy that is changing around them. It's rapidly moving energy around them. We've got the Nine of Fire that has fallen out here. This is like the Nine of Wands, and it is, with it being that fire energy, it's got that defensiveness to it. This is a defensive Nine of Wands, Nine of Fire. It is one where your person has actually learned some lessons about resistance and defensiveness in this area, in the area of the lessons that they're on right now, but it's tough to let those walls down. Something is ending though, and there's something that it's not something that's within their control. That's why you see the Draco card instead of like the Chariot card. The equivalent of the Chariot card would suggest that that impetus was coming from within them. Here, though, it says that the universe is kind of yanking them around. So we've also got the Six of Fire. It's they are just having things happen on top of other things. So when they came together with you, they were already working through something that was kind of a difficult issue, and it looks to me like they were pretty early in the process and hadn't made very much progress with that. So then they came together with you. They learned an awful lot. You re-triggered some of those lessons in them that they were trying to get to stop. And so that's part of why you saw the response that you saw. And now they are in here, kind of going through it all again and trying to figure out how to move forward. And they're not done yet with some of the battles that they're already fighting. So with the Six of Fire here in reverse, we see that there's already, there's just a lot of struggle that's unresolved. A lot of things that haven't ended yet. With the Ten of Wind, there's memory of a recent pain and memory of a long ago pain. The memory of the long ago pain is particularly, um, it is particularly hard for them to get at. So it's a memory that has been eroded by time. It's been eaten away by a little bit of a little bit of repression. So I think of repression as being like you take your thoughts and you put them into this box and you put them, sink them to the bottom of the ocean. But then the box starts to break down and it starts to come out. But when it comes out, it's weathered by time and eroded and by the fact that you tried to not think about it. So that's kind of what's happening with them. They're starting to make the connection between what happened a long time ago with them that caused them pain and what has happened with the two of you. Like they know there is a connection, but now they're starting to make that connection. It is not, however, doing wonders for their ability to communicate. So they're really kind of suspicious of themselves at this point, trying to figure out like what else have I missed. And they're not necessarily inclined to have a good conversation with you today in this energy, partially because they realize that there's stuff going on they haven't truly gotten at. So now we have the chariot coming out. This is good stuff. All right. So the chariot, we like to see the chariot in this kind of situation because it's different from the energy that we saw previously, where they were feeling like they were going in and out of being able to motivate themselves forward. So the chariot suggests this is like new strength for them. And they keep doing this. They keep cycling back and having additional strength and saying, okay, I can move forward. And then they say, but I can't send the text. Or, there's something that happens that kind of creates a setback. They've got something here that's created a setback for them, or it's in the process of creating a setback. But this is what comes out of it. They end up motivated and able to move forward, which is maybe not what would have been expected by anyone in that situation. We again, though, have things slowing back down. So, okay. We have the energy moving forward right now that is forcing them to there's a change that's happening, but we also here's the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So I want to demystify it because we have it up here in the upright and we have it over here in the reverse. It's like the energy is moving, but not in the places that they would want for it to. And they can't necessarily tell what they should be doing about it. They're not super sure what they should be doing to advance things forward or to make things better. And so there's a little bit of a like they have the chariot, they have the I want to move forward. I don't really know how, and they end up not delivering. Like they end up not delivering on their half of the deal. So if you reached out to them, if you were one of the people who reached out to your person and got a completely unsatisfactory response, if you got a response at all, if you are one of those people, recognize this is part of what is happening there. They're not even really processing this the same way that you are. They're in the middle of something different that has their emotions kind of all moving around, and they haven't diagnosed it yet. They haven't really gotten in there to understand what it is that they're even feeling just yet. So this is a really like foggy sort of energy. It's a tough one to figure out exactly what's going on. We've got the sister of Earth, and here we are with them being basically broken down to a place where they can start to learn again. So that's what is being asked of them. They're being asked to really open themselves up to the lesson. So it's a question or a request that you guys have been getting throughout this entire process. Your person is getting it again. I don't know how receptive they're going to be to it, except that I see this death card up here, which means something is ending. And that means there's an opportunity for something to be reborn. It's not necessarily something that they're driving, but they've got a lot of energy of driving forward. So I don't know. I think that feels like potential, but it's difficult to say at this point where that ends up. And again, this is like a mood. That energetic backdrop, the reason that I like to get it frequently is because it is very much like a mood and it shifts. So we're going to go to the question that we were looking at, which is really what they are going through emotionally right now in their lessons. What it is, we know that everybody's got they're in a different place on the timeline. The lessons that you're going through are not necessarily matched to the lessons that your person is going through. In a lot of places, we see their lessons are very much attached to vulnerability. Your lessons are very much attached to reestablishing or establishing, in some cases, self-worth. So it seems like a lot of you are not beginners in the area of self-worth, and so this is like you're going to that next level, and I see a lot of you going to the next level in different things. Your person is also doing that. They're farther along the path on some things than they are on whatever these lessons are. So the piece around vulnerability, like they're really just not great at that. They're great at some other things, and they're going to use some of what they've learned in other places to help move them forward in this, but right now they're feeling pretty resistant to it. We've seen a lot of that, and so it's a matter of trying to figure out how to let the goodness seep in and the lessons seep in without threatening them too much. There's not much you can do about that, but we're going to look at what you can be thinking about. We'll, of course, as always, look at what the lessons are for you and the focus for you given what we see in the energy over here. So we're going to look here at what they are going through emotionally right now in their lessons. Like what is happening in your person's emotions during the lessons that they're going through right now. And we look at this periodically because it helps to talk about some of what they're doing. Oh, control. Okay. So they have, and this is, I don't know, I'm going to keep this. It feels like an honorable mention, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it because it's a little bit brighter than that. So the Jupiter card is the equivalent of the Emperor card. We see it here in the reverse, talking about the control that they'd like to establish over the situation, because they don't actually want to feel very much about this right now. They're pretty dead set against it, to be perfectly honest. And it's a very difficult way for them to move forward. They're not open to learning in the way that they need to be in order to truly get past this. So when they hit the equivalent of that crossroads that you guys are going through, it's like they're definitely making the turn that puts them through the process again because they're not quite ready to learn the full lesson. The Knight of Pentacles, though, has them slowing down. That's actually what this control is doing. So, and not moving forward is still a decision, though. The fact that it's a Knight of Pentacles tells me it is moving forward. It is moving forward slowly but surely. It is debatable as to whether the universe feels like that speed is appropriate. And so that's where you're going to see the speeding up and the slowing down of energy. So we've got them speeding up over here in a place where maybe they weren't especially looking for something to end. They don't have control over that. And then they've got, this dead energy that feels like to them over here, this stagnation of something that's not really changing over here. So, yeah, they're definitely wanting to establish more control over the situation and to make things go very slowly, but it's not necessarily working for them. They're looking for happiness. They're looking to seek happiness. They've had a taste of it, and they have because you were there. But they have a hard time with it because they understand that you can't press it. This one came out sideways. Um, and as you guys probably know, if you've been watching, when they come out sideways, a lot of times I like to honor that because sometimes you'll see something come out in the upright and you'll feel a little bit of what it is in the reverse. And I'll just throw that in. But if it comes out sideways, it's usually a pretty good indication that energy is kind of flip flopping rapidly or it is just inconsistent. Here, and that's what we've been seeing. Sometimes it's you'll see elements of both the upright and the reverse. This is a case of both. You see elements of both the upright and the reverse, as well as the energy keeps flip-flopping and changing around on them because they don't actually know what is right now. They've seen some new truths that cause them to sometimes want to control the situation, sometimes be a little bit more balanced and grown up about it, but they are not consistent about that. That's not an easy thing for them to be consistent about. And so it's just easier for them to kind of not move toward you, but the issue is that they've already seen what it is that makes them happy. So this business of pushing away and trying to be resistant is only so successful. They're fighting a battle here that they can't win, and yet they feel like they can't lose. But it's super frustrating. It's part of what's causing this brother of fire response. So this brother of fire, it's like the knight of wands, okay? And it is sometimes the other readers will come out and call it like the player card, and it talks about inconsistent energy, so there's that I jump in, I jump out, and that's maybe part of why you see this emperor card flip-flopping like this and not knowing whether they want to try and control it or let it roll. Not knowing what they really want to do. Ultimately, they want to be able to control it as much as they need to, and at least as much as they want to be able to slow things down. Um, but they're fighting a battle they can't win. It's a losing battle, and it's one that doesn't make very much sense. We just saw the Three of Swords there, and that one, it was an honorable mention, but essentially, they're still experiencing a lot of emotion from the things that came before. So you pretty much wiped out whatever it was they were dealing with prior to you, and made them not feel the same sort of pain over it. But now they've looked for something to do the same with you, and it has not worked. They are very much attached to and connected to, you know what, 2 days ago, we asked about their attachment to the outcome of this situation. That was just satellite to the question we were asking about whether or not they had given up. And they have not, they can't give up, was the message that came back. They are not able to do so. But they sure would like to. And it's partially because they're not in control. They're feeling very controlled by this, almost into the feeling of wishing that it couldn't happen or that it hadn't happened, and to be able break the bond somehow. They have figured out that this is something that they want. And so that is not necessarily helping them because they haven't figured out how to get to it yet. So we want this one. The Hanged Man is talking about a new perspective that they don't yet have yet, or they don't yet have. So as they've worked through some things, they have a very hard won perspective on, so the Nine of Water, for example, which is that Nine of Cups lesson of figuring out when you what it is that you actually want. And that's for them figuring out, what have I done so far? What have I brought myself to, that I am now in a situation where I feel very controlled. And this is them talking, but they feel very controlled by their situation, by their desire for you, by the fact that they didn't feel like they had much control over things once it got started with you, and that scares them quite a bit. Also, having seen that happiness, they now have something to compare everything else to, and this is not going well for everything else. So let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out. I feel like at least one more card wants to here. Um, this is emotionally like tug of war for them. They're having a lot of back and forth. They don't trust themselves. We've got definite not trusting themselves, needing to connect with the universe. That was a honorable mention. Feeling like this is the Father of Wind. Okay, this is the Seven of Wind. It's like the Seven of Swords. This is like the King of Swords. This is their and they would call it kind of an unfortunate ability to look at the big picture and truly take in everything that's happening there. They feel like it's a little bit of an unfortunate ability because right now it's not being very enjoyable to them. They're looking at the big picture and they're still confused about what to do about it, but what they're unhappy with how much of it they are able to see, because they are able to see forever. Now, I said this to somebody in a recent reading, and I remember thinking, well, it sounds really cheesy, but I'm like, no, that is actually the best word for the job. That is the best word for the job. They saw it. They locked eyes with you. They saw what was happening in the bond between the two of you. They can't unsee it, but they lack the perspective they need to move forward. And so they're just kind of being battered around by the emotion. And so as a response, they're trying to put some control on it, but they also understand they can't. It would be really nice if they could at least slow things down. And so it's almost, I get this feeling of somebody that doesn't have brakes and they've put their feet down to try and stop the vehicle, and it's not working. It's not working. They're being borne toward this with far more speed than they have any interest in, especially with this thing that's changing over here and kind of catapulting them into emotional action, which is not something that they want to do. We're going to look a little bit more deeply into that when we get to the extended, just to understand like what is happening here, that what is changing and catapulting your person into this new place, because that seems pretty intense, especially because it's bringing up all of these experiences and emotions. And we've seen this is like it's like reopening a wound, but it's almost like it's a really bad, it's like you've rebroken a bone, or they've rebroken a bone. It's very extreme, like they can't stop thinking about it. It's not something that can be ignored at this point. um Wow. So, all right, I'm looking forward to the extended for this one. If you guys are into those, just know, or if you're not into them yet, just know that it seems like they're very much an extended reading. They are very much an extension of what happens in the readings on YouTube, and it's almost just like every day is a continuation of the previous day. You don't have to watch the extendeds to understand everything that's happening, but I think in some cases it's helpful. I usually point out when something is, hey guys, you can't miss this one, but I also don't want to feel like I'm weirdly upselling it or something like that. It's totally your call. But there's extra that happens there that I think kind of takes on a life of its own. So I like to tell you what I'm going to cover there so you have a choice to decide if it's something you want to check out or not. But we're going to go ahead and look into the lessons for you, the focus for you, given what we've seen here in this situation, because your person is, as we know, deep in it right now. This is not a simple situation for them to be in any more than it's a simple situation for you to be in. But what is it that you should be doing about this? What is your sort of your practical advice given what we've just seen in the rest of the YouTube reading? Ooh, Okay, so you have, this is a card of transformation. It's a card of, this is the Pavo card. And it's transformation, but it's like, it's showing, it's moving into transformation in a way that you are able to, how can I say this? It's moving into transformation in a way that you're able to really do something different about it. Use it differently. Use what you learned differently. You're taking all of the things that came before, the change, the towers, this is the equivalent of the tower, and it has everything that's come before. It's got kind of this cumulative, it's, again, it's the, I'm trying to figure out the best words to do to give it, what it deserves. And I feel like it's about, take all of those towers that you've had in the past and really jump in and go with this. Like, you're going to benefit from really going with this. We have the Father of Water. Why doesn't it, um okay. So this is, we just saw the Tower in reverse. That's a card that's telling us this is the thing that you've been trying to resist. But it's really, you're encouraged to jump in and do it. Use your integrity and hold yourself accountable. Whew. All right. We're getting deeper into this one when we get into the extended too, because when the lesson messages start coming out like this, I have learned to honor it. So there is a messenger of some kind that's going to give you information you need in this situation, in your situation with your person. Allow it to come to you, but know that you're already engaging in some of what you need to be doing. Part of the message that you're going to get is to stay on the right track, or stay on the same road, but there are going to be some nuances, and you're going to be able to gather those nuances to you, through your prayer, through your meditation, and also through talking with whoever it is that you're using for guidance. And it might be more than one person, and guidance may come from some strange places. So, as I used to say more frequently, in these readings, it may be the 2-year-old sitting next to you out in public from a family that you're not even with, that spouts some wisdom that causes you to reevaluate things and go, oh, okay, wait, I have to take this home and think about it. Also, like I said, it's already in motion. So there is definitely this sense of, um, newness. Okay, so we have the Sister of Water that's giving us the sense of newness, not quite naivete, but definitely freshness. This is the eyes of a child, but not necessarily naive. Okay, so it's somebody who maybe has experience but isn't ruled by that experience. I guess that's probably the best way for me to say that. And then this Three of Fire, that's about you having already set things in motion, and that's why I'm saying that you maybe have already done some of what you needed to do there. So we've got the Hermit in reverse, which we needed a couple of days ago to talk about how this feels now and how it was feeling then. It was all about getting in there and really allowing your values to realign. So you've started with this, but you're still holding on to something, which we've also seen. Um, and it's about, this is something egoistic. It's something that you're holding on to as a protection, but there's no real reason anymore. This is a place where, like, you still have that 9 of fire in the upright for you too. You're still holding on to something and being resistant to something that's going to honestly open everything up for you. If you are able to connect with your divine self, with your intuition, and this happens, it's like little blips for me, for several of the people that I talk to. It's not like you make this connection and it's super easy to hear everything. Like, it can be a little bit challenging. You really have to quiet the mind. But then once you learn how to listen to it, you'll never forget. It's really kind of neat. And you can have it along with the rest of your daily life. You're walking around and then you'll start to realize, there's guidance for you there. And it's like downloads that you get to take, but you can almost count on it being something that's super useful for you at the time. There's a need for you to get good and connected up so that you can access these downloads, but then you have to be able to trust them, because this is your intuition and it's going to be little stuff like, don't send that email yet. you know, it's not going to be the big things, but they you train on the little stuff about not sending the email. And by the way, if you do, then observe when later you realize why you shouldn't have sent the email. It's always kind of interesting when you realize you learned something new, or you otherwise realize that you should have listened. So we've got the resurrection card in the reverse. This is like the judgment card. There's been a lot of moving toward judgment here, but not a lot of actual judgment. So this is a place where you actually stop short of moving into judgment because you recognize somewhere in this process that you're not yet ready for it. And this is that, not yet ready for it. But it's okay. You're slowing a process. You're going to do the right thing here. It truly is the right thing for you to do, to slow the process down and make sure that you're doing things right. And now I'm supposed to stop drawing cards. It's sometimes it's really abrupt. Um, all right, so we're going to go to the extended now, and we're going to look at a little bit more deeply into kind of what's happening with your person and these emotions. We're definitely going to look a little bit more deeply into what you can be doing and what's going to help you here, because I feel like these messages continue to want to come out. They don't want, I don't want to draw more cards. But we're going to ask the question, and we're going to cast a little bit wider of a net to see what other messages want to come back, because this is going to be useful for your overall situation with your person. Which, by the way, they are having, an emotionally difficult time right now, but it's also a more emotionally open time than what they have historically had. They've got a definite need to be open to the lessons in a way that they haven't historically been. But it's like the combination is getting there. They're getting to a place where they're going to be able to do that. It's still going to be taking some time for them to pull the information together and make the best of it, but it feels like it's moving in the right direction, however slowly. And they are definitely doing their best to make it slow, like we see here. So we're going to go ahead and go into the extended. Hope to see you there. If not, I look forward to seeing you in the next reading.